One of the premier developers for the PlayStation, Squaresoft's first effort for the system's successor would naturally draw huge coverage, and one such game would help buoy the launch window of the PlayStation 2. After successful collaborations during the generation prior, Square would turn to Dream Factory for this cinematic beat-em-up, attempting to meld the former's penchant for storytelling with the latter's brawling experience. The Bouncer would indeed impress players with graphics beyond the capabilities of the system prior, and hopes were high for Square's first international release on the PlayStation 2. However, instead of becoming a new franchise for the Japanese publisher, The Bouncer is oft forgotten, garnering mixed opinions from those who played it. But where does it lie in terms of early PS2 titles, 3D beat-em-ups, and other Square titles?
The Bouncer.
As a showcase for the then burgeoning PS2, The Bouncer proved a critical success, as this beat-em-up would prove the standout of its early competitors. With characters that showcase intricate detail and expressive facials, excellent environments with detail to spare, and a smooth 60 frames per second performance that never dips, it's top notch. Dream Factory also smartly avoided some of the early perils of PS2 development, such as jaggies and screen tearing, with a distinctive blur that masks these issues. While it can be a touch too blurry in some spots, it actually holds up better than many of the launch titles. A lot was made of the outlandish character designs, courtesy of Tetsuya Nomura, which includes protagonist Sion clad with neck belt and dog chain. But while some may find these kitsch, you can't deny they are presented beautifully by the graphics. As with many Squaresoft titles, impressive FMVs highlight spectacular moments and look crisp and colourful, though the in-engine scenes are also remarkably impressive. While The Bouncer earns full marks for visuals, it's the gameplay and story where things start to unravel. This tale concerns a trio of nightclub bouncers, with Sion being flanked by Volt and Co, as they begin a rescue mission when friend Dominique is kidnapped by masked assailants. It's soon discovered they are affiliated with the Mikado Group, a megacorp with less than admirable intentions, as you'd expect. It sounds like a story taken from roaming beat-em-ups of old like Final Fight, but this couldn't be further from the truth. There's a complex, futuristic yarn here, with 3 unique protagonists, a rotating crew of villains, and side characters which help inform the backstory of said main characters. Cutscenes often last minutes at a time, with some resembling information drops, and it is certainly a lot to take in, to the point that loading screens serve up text dumps which add backstory to each hero depending on your chosen character. The problem is that The Bouncer attempts this kind of storytelling in the confines of a game that lasts a little over 2 hours, creating a rushed and strained thread that feels like the cliff notes of a longer JRPG. Characters such as Mugetsu, whose power gifting experiments push him to the point of psychosis, can tease the promise of something interesting, but their time is so truncated that it's impossible to form any connection. This is perhaps worsened by the voice acting which, despite being recorded in English first, ranges wildly in quality.
Roger. We've got company.
Some sound fine, such as the Steve Blum-backed Co, whose wit manages to shine through, but others suffered the woes of early voice work issues, such as stilted delivery, failing to pause for dramatic effect, and awkward pronunciation.
It was fun while it lasted, but I have other more pressing matters.
The music, on the other hand, works well to try and salvage some more dramatic moments, using an eclectic mix of songs which swing from guitar-led jams, electronic-infused tracks, and a cheesy ballad to close off the credits. And despite the spread of genres, it works. Outside of cutscenes, the action here is responsive but lacking depth. Each bouncer feels distinctive to use, with stats dictating their key strengths, and points earned after downing enemies can be used to upgrade stats further and unlock special moves. Neither really manages to master the fact there are very few combos in the game, and enemies lack the intelligence to necessitate much variety. There are also some curious design choices which hamper the gameplay further. The aforementioned points require you to land the final hit on a foe, and friendly AI seems rather eager to down enemies first. This would be fine, except they don't earn points to be used, causing them to go wasted and making chaining KOs, which adds a multiplier to your points, very difficult. A handful of boss encounters suffer the opposite problem, where friendly AI becomes almost comatose. There's also ragdoll physics which, while amusing, can cause tons of damage to both allies and foes when they knock into each other, and this can kill the pace of fights. These issues chip away at the fun gameplay can offer, but it's more galling just how little there is. The gameplay to story ratio is notably lopsided, as taking out those cutscenes leaves around 30 minutes of fighting on a playthrough.
I don't think they're gonna let us through.
As a consequence, it likely won't be left spinning in your disc tray for long. The story is short as mentioned, but does gain some replays through your character choices. These can uncover previously hidden information, such as Volt's connection to a main antagonist Echidna, or the contents of Ko's frequent phone calls which you aren't privy to when playing as the other bouncers.
I need you to check on something for me. Yeah, I need to get into Mikado fast.
There's also a unique stage which varies wildly depending on your bouncer choice, including a novel stealth segment which adds some flavour. Several endings are also available to uncover dependent on your choice of character between each scene, though admittedly some lack drastic enough changes to encourage much beyond 3 full playthroughs without scene skipping. There's also a survival mode, tasking you with outlasting 50 foes with a single health bar, and versus mode for up to 4 players. These can be fun, as you can utilise unlocked characters from the story with unique moves and specials, as well as excessive ragdolling. But most will be lucky to break 10 hours of play with this game. The Bouncer, perhaps as a result of divided reviews and diminishing returns on beat-em-ups, undersold and has seen no follow-up in the 2 decades since. It's admittedly highly ambitious, trying to meld a non-linear adventure with a brawler that sadly buckles under middling execution. An overstuffed story, dire lack of replay value, and a tangible absence of gameplay all hold this game back, and not even stunning visuals and a catchy soundtrack can help alleviate these woes. There's some bruising fun for social gamers and those wanting something oddball. Again, look at those crazy character designs. But those yearning for a glorious battle on the PlayStation 2 will likely find this one disappointing and short-lived in the memory.